Okay, so what we've got here is marked Toyota Land Cruiser Series 80. And you can see that's what the body molding is for on this. But everything I've seen says it's close enough to work on these Chevys. So that's what I'm about to attempt to do. My only problem here is this I don't like. That intake. Two and 3/4 maybe inside diameter. I don't like that. So I am going to play around. Some JB Weld. And I'm going to open that up a heck of a lot more. Piece of ABS pipe that you get out of Home Depot. This is ABS. In theory, it should all glue together just fine. I know that's still going to be a restriction, but that's not as bad because that's actually 3-inch inside diameter up there. And you end up with a huge air box here of reserve air for when you demand it from the engine. And just driving down the road with it pointed forward, you're forcing the air in. But I don't like how small that is. And I'm not certain it's actually big enough to go through. So yeah, and that works pretty neat. Just a simple ABS pipe coupler, DWV pipe. See the difference that you'll have there in airflow? Just a little difference, huh? That little bit of difference. Open it up. We'll just let that dry in place. I think some of the things I've learned off of this little escapade. Probably should have not gone for... I don't see any way to do that. Because this has a shape here, you have to go slide-in fit, not a surface fit. But what I should have done was got it all taped in place first before mixing the JB Weld epoxy. That may have been better. But it's generally, in line with everything. It should work enough. The hole through the fender, I'll clearance it enough that that'll slip through. And I'm not sure what kind of depth I have in the fender. I haven't really measured, but I'm hoping it comes out a little bit. If it doesn't come out enough, for some weird reason, I don't know that 3 to 4 inches I have there, that should be inside the air box. We'll see. I'm going to let this all set up. What you saw there was a little bit of gap filling. Did it from the back side and the front side. I'm just throwing some epoxy in there. For how close that got, and freehanding with a jigsaw, that's not bad, only to have one nick go through. So that's filled there. I also had a couple slots here where it dripped all the way through and left me some gaps, so I wanted to seal all of those. While it was setting up, it did sink this way a little. So once again, my caution of tape it in place first and then go after it. So wherever that gap was, you can see in there I've epoxied the snot out of all that. That big black glob right there is just the drippings for where I had a gap here. I filled that now. So we'll let all that set up. Meanwhile, I've cleaned off this fender, just some Windex. Can you see all that? Yeah, I bet you can right there. You can see how much fry up I got in this paint. Look at all that. But as part of this whole thing, I'm looking. So you got this big old K&N air filter here. That hole back there is your intake. And there's a metal cap on the end of this thing, stainless steel, I'm guessing. So you've already got a huge restriction going on right here for air intake. So by the time this is all said and done, everything works well, we'll be opening all of this up. This cold air comes in from the fender, but it ends up coming in from somewhere down here. So we're trying to change the dynamics that it's, front of the vehicle, highway speeds, that makes sense, and that's what the engineer's designed for. But if you're talking off-road, that means this eats a ton of dust. It just gets all dusty because all the dust being picked up down here. So raise up there, it should cut down the dust a whole lot, and that's what I'm really after here. Those times we go out in the West Desert or up in the dusty roads in the high altitude, this filter just eats a ton of dust. Among the things this comes with in this bag, how's that sound on camera? It's actually made of cardboard too, but there's your whole template. Let's not lose that. You got some fender washers of some sort. Those are like studs, okay. I don't see instructions anywhere, so I'm going off of what I've seen. Just watching videos from Land Cruisers online, how they do this. And it's going to be similar. We got some rivets, which that's kind of cool. And the rivets, if I'm right, yeah, for this bracket, which is the one that attaches here. So there's that bracket, there's rivets. That's a cool thing about these studs is they do have hex bit. Yeah, I'm cheating and using a star drive Torx bit. I'm not about to take them all the way down because I'm not sure. I want to make sure I got enough room to grab. And yeah, it's just fender sheet metal going in right here. But I do want to make sure I have enough room to grab both. You can see it comes with a fender washer and a nylock. So I want to make sure I have plenty of room to grab all of that. And that should do it. So yeah, I'm not bottoming them out. And I'm totally guessing here because this came with 0 instructions. Here's the fun part. See, this is a cutout for a blinker. That's the fender. You can tell that's the shape of the fender of a Land Cruiser. How does that work here is the question, right? So here's one of my concerns would be is you look how far forward of the box that is. So we'll have to see. I do want this for where the drill holes are. It'll show me where I actually got to pilot those through, and I will oversize them just a hair for adjustability. But I got to see when that's all dry exactly how this fits so it doesn't interfere with the door opening and closing. But yeah, that was one of my concerns is how far forward that is. I do have some room. That actually does take care of another concern because the actual factory intake there will allow me to get an arm in to be able to put the nuts and bolts on these things. Where does this sit on the fender is what I need to find out. And where do I need to pilot my hole? It's all pen and ink until you make the first cut. So doing a lot of due diligence here to make it right. So you look at where I put for the template, those are going to be too high. Because I was looking at where the circle would end up being, I'd be up above this lip. I want to be below this lip. This fat circle might even still be a little too high. So I'll find the center of that, put a small hole in that, and then I can adjust the entire hole down based on where I do my Disclaimer to the real body workers to look away now. This also shows how weak that original paint and primer bond is. Holy crap, look at that. But yeah, pie cut, beat it to fit. I've got enough room for it to go in and out. What's curious to me is, oh, can you even see down there? But you can see open grounds down there. It sucks cold air in that way, sure, but it's also sucking all the road dust that's coming in from down here. And that's what this should take care of. So you can see I traced inside there with the pencil, very, very ugly. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it and bend them on down in until I get my pipe through to the other side. I'm going to bend everything towards the interior, because I definitely don't want things like this in here when I'm, reaching around fingers and stuff. I don't want to slice open that way. It is. Put it up there to clearance it, see if it works. Beat and beat and beat till I've got the clearance I want. It gets in there. Not the prettiest hole on that round, but it's in where it needs to be. Now the part is, so making some scratch marks, like right there and right there. Now I can reference between those two where I'm really going to be drilling at. So there and there. Got another little scratch right there. Couple scratches there, but yeah, so I can put the template back up there between this and this and this. That gives me 3 points of triangulation. I can see where I need to go with it. This stupid little thing's out of batteries again already, so no more action shots until I got this done. I'll show you. All right, this will give you an idea of some of the trouble I'm fighting. When I put that up there, the template up there, these ones ended up migrating that way, so I had to wallow them out that way so they'll fit. The other problem I've got going on is I had to dent that hole down a whole lot more because of how much that is that way. Now this brings up a point to me that I'm thinking if I had to do it over again, I would not have glued that in until I had everything test fit up, and then take it from the other side and glue it in a couple spots, then pull it all off and glue it again. Now obviously this being meant for a Toyota 80 series Land Cruiser, it is not a perfect fit, and fitting it up there, there's no way I'm getting those points to attach up here, because it ends up with a good 3 fingers. So I might be able to do that with a different piece. I'm going to see once clearances are up. I might have to do a longer piece out there. I would like to have that top piece actually up there. I don't want it waving around in the wind. But the other thing, not being a tight fit, this one here, the stud will not be long enough. So what I did is remove the stud. That doesn't look that much longer. I wish I had a longer one. I may have to get a longer one later. But a longer bolt, metric of some sort, I don't know, M10, M12, something. I may have something long enough. Yeah, there we go. I've got one that's longer. And we'll see. I'll do it from a bolt on the inside. And that's just going to pull it tight and give it enough. But, you pull too much, you start warping. I mean, this fender's already bent, but start warping this in ways you may not want. So I just want enough to make sure. Obviously, I can get these 3 holes just fine. No idea how I'm reaching the backside of that one. There may be no way to reach that, unless I remove the battery and put a hole there. Don't think I will. So anyway, I'll have these two, this one and that one pretty tight, and this one relatively tight. It doesn't look like I've got a way. Alright, there it is. I got some paint on it. Got everything adjusted where I wanted. Holy Run City. Of course, this is not optimal painting weather, but what I'm looking for here is covering up the primer. Covering up bare metal, so it's hosed down with some gray. On another time, I'll go after this on another day. When it's warm in the spring. That's funny. The paint solvents are actually getting all of the blue marker. But these fresh edges here, those are nice and covered in paint, even though it's running. All those runs will be covered for the most part, and then eventually when I get around to recoating this thing anyhow, it won't matter. And just used the template as a back mask. But alright, here we go. Next step, I let that cure up a little bit. Who knows how long that's going to take, as cold as it is. Alright, taking a look at it all. The access hatch back there, I can get both of those two holes back there. What was the old intake, I can get the two front holes. And by making this just a little bit bigger down there, I can get to that hole. So I've got access to all of them. And I know I've got extra bolts on hand if I need something longer than just the stud. Alright, there we go. It's on. It's not quite where I want it, but it's on. Ended up putting 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. This one and this one I couldn't get to. This one especially because the shape of the truck, you got way too much gap there for me to really get to it. I don't remember exactly why I couldn't get to that one. What's that means? 1, 2, 3, 4 hold this chunk on, so that ain't going much of nowhere. Even if I did try to tighten that back in, I don't know. I might try that again someday. My biggest concern though is that got everything all bolted back together here. But you look there, the cold air dumps out here now, so it's more to the side of the filter instead of being here. That's just not a good flow, straight into a flat stainless steel plate of the filter. How's that a decent flow? Wouldn't be. But yeah, so now we're dumping here. Thinking about all the different ways, and you can see the line there. It does and doesn't fit the fender. It's got a dimple here, and then again down here that would fit for a Land Cruiser, but the Suburban not so much. But since nobody's offering to make these for the Suburbans, this is kind of what you get. The next stage of this, video-wise, will be when I actually rebuild a whole new box in there for the air filter. Got some ideas of how to fix my mistake right here. This pipe should have been up more. Honestly, I should have cheated it up this way, because it ends up looking really down because it fell a little bit, but also when you figure this whole fender does have a tilt here, so it actually points it down a lot. Since that is a coupler, I could just go get a piece of an elbow and bring it back up and in. Thoughts for the future. When I redo this box, that'll be the next stage of this game. Yeah, everything's back together. Everything's ready to work. So, all right, there it is. Toyota 80 Series Land Cruiser Snorkel adapted to a Suburban. It's not perfect. Still got some work to do. I don't have a method of heat to fix my problem. I don't like how much it's out that way. It needs to be bent in. I'm looking, and there's a joint here. And maybe that's all I need to do is cut that, do a pie cut, and then glue in some new material there. Something like that. I don't have a method of heat on hand that'll actually take care of that. It doesn't interfere right now as it sits with opening of the door. You know, it'll come all the way out, no problem. Shut, no problem. But I would like to move it and close that gap such that it's in line with the windshield. And I was thinking heat and all that probably only get me so far with this. Probably is better to actually do that. I don't know if the factory actually did that, had two parts here. That would make sense if they did. But that may be how I do it, is just slice it open, move it over, glue in new pieces, repaint it all. Usually repaint it with the same Duplicolor stuff. That seems to be what's on it. The way it's scratching leads me to think it's not just plastic, it's been painted or something. I don't know, it's in there. Now that's going to provide cold air here. But 80 Series Land Cruiser, Snorkel adapted to a Suburban. That's as far as I'm going to take it for now. You can see exactly where you got the gaps and problems. If you're curious, if you're like me, you've seen these on Instagram and other places, but nobody's ever shown a video of what it actually takes to get one of these mounted. And nobody's really that I've seen shown that it does stick out that far from the windshield. And it's going to need some more modification to fit better. I'll do that later. But there's your curiosity answer, GMT 400 with a Land Cruiser 80 series snorkel. It fits the windshield line pretty well. Just need to get it to hug closer. I'm wondering about is, am I above windshield line? If I am, I'm not getting it in and out of this garage. I'll have to drop that down, which can be done, I think. All I gotta do is cut some of this off and drop this. That may be an issue too. Alright, I'm babbling, I'm tired, I'm hungry, dinner's ready. So, came this far, thanks for watching. Check out Instagram, Rocky Mountain Redneck. And then we'll catch you guys on the next one.